Problem solving with systems of equations. We have some steps that we are going to follow for each one of these. So this is when you have a word problem and you have two different variables. So you're going to first define your variables. What are your two unknowns? You're going to label them with a variable like A, B, M, X, Y. You decide what your variable is. N for nickels, Q for quarters. That can be how you use your variables. And then write your two equations. Step 3, solve your system using any method. So what are the methods that we've learned so far? Graphing. So if it's in a y equals form, we'll use graphing. The table. And we can also use matrices. And then write your answer in a sentence. Relate back to the situation. Then the last thing is just check, does it make sense? I think that's a step that we forget sometimes. Does that answer even make sense with the situation? Reread the question. Does it make sense? All right, so let's look. We have two examples today. So example 1, if Mark and Kyle combine their hourly pay, they would make $16 per hour. Mark's pay is $1.50 more than Kyle's. Find the hourly pay for Mark and Kyle. A lot of stuff in there, right? So let's read it again, and we're going to break it down by the sentence. If Mark and Kyle combine their hourly pay, they would make $16 per hour. What does the word combine mean? What? Add together. They would make $16 per hour. Mark's pay is $1.50 more than Kyle's. Who gets paid more? Mark. Mark makes more. Wonder why he makes more. Has he been there longer, maybe? Have more education? I don't know. And then it says, find the hourly pay for Mark and Kyle. So step 1, now that we've kind of made sense of it all, what are they asking for? Find the hourly pay for Mark and Kyle. So usually you can find what your variables are by looking at the last sentence or the question. So this is the last sentence, and that's asking you what to look for. So the hourly pay for Mark and the hourly pay for Kyle. What variables could we use? If we use H, we're talking about Mark and Kyle. One of them makes more than the other. They're not the exact same. M, so I'm going to use M for Mark's pay. So then what else could I use? K for Kyle's pay. Now we need to write your equations. So there's two different equations because they've given us two clues. Clue number 1 is that if you add them together, they make $16 together. Add together their hourly pay. That's clue number 1. So we can write our equation from that. How would we write our equation using our variables? What operation? Addition. What am I adding together? Mark and Kyle's pay. I have variables. So what equation could I write? M plus K equals 16. So that is the hourly pays together, combining your hourly pays. The next one says Mark's pay is $150 more than Kyle's. We talked about this probably at the beginning of the year, but that word is, we could replace is with equals. So Mark's pay is. So that means my equation could be M equals 150 more than Kyle's. So we would have Kyle's and add $1.50 to it. So we have our system of equations now. Now we need to solve. All right, so we have the two equations, M plus K equals 16, and M equals K plus 150. So remember my two methods that we talked about? Well, three actually. Graphing. So graphing would be if it was in a y equals form. Is that in a y equals form? No. A table. I don't really have a table. I mean, we could make one, but I think that's the wrong avenue to go. So the last one is matrix. Could I use a matrix for this? Instead of ax plus by equals c, it's really am plus bk equals c, right? Because all I did was change my variables. So as long as it's in the mk equals a c, similar to ax plus by equals c, then I can put it in that form. So my first fraction, or my first row, would be 1, 1, 16. Because I'm getting the coefficient of m and k equals 16. But what's wrong with the second one? Decimal's not the problem. It's not in the right form. Can I get it in the mk equals a number form, though? What do I need to move? I need to move that k to the other side. How do I move a variable to the other side or a number to the other side? Subtract it. So then I'll have, I can't combine those, so it's just m minus k equals 150. Now it's in the right form. So I plug it into the matrix. Coefficient of m is 1. Coefficient of negative k is negative 1, and then 150. So we're going to use matrix. If you need to, get out the instructions for matrices. What we did in the last lesson. So in our last lesson, we had these notes. So if you've forgotten what to do, look back at these notes. So we do second matrix. Y'all following along? You doing it? Over to math, and then go to RREF, and then alpha zoom. What kind of matrix is this? How many rows do we have? 2 rows. How many columns? So I need to go over and change that if it's not already like that. Now I have my template. I'm plugging in the numbers. So my solution comes out as 10875. 01725. Remember, this is hourly rate. Somebody's amount of money they make per hour. So now we got to decipher who makes what. What variable was first in our equations? M, and then K. So the first one tells us that M equals 875. Because that's the first variable we use. The second variable is K, and K equals 725. So we need to answer the question in words. So it said up at the top, it says, find the hourly pay for Mark and Kyle. So how could I write this in sentence form? Mark's hourly pay is $8.75, and Kyle's is $7.25. And then the last step, make sure it makes sense. So would it make sense that they would make 875 and 725? Yeah, because if you add them together, do you get 16? We can check it just by adding those together. 8.75 plus 725. Yes, that makes sense. One other thing would be, does Kyle make $1.50 more? I mean, does Mark make $1.50 more than Kyle? Yeah, if I add $1.50 to Kyle's, I would get 8.75. So it makes sense. So I'm going to put a little check mark for checking that it makes sense. There's a little mistake in here. This should say step 4, not step 5. There is no step 5, except checking. All right, let's go to example 2. Jason empties his pockets on his dresser every day. He has accumulated 30 coins in dimes and quarters. Their total value is $4.50. How many coins of each type does he have? So let's reread it again and pick out some important things. So he empties his pockets on his dresser every day. Is that really that important? Nah. He has accumulated 30 coins in dimes and quarters. What does accumulated mean? Collected, yeah. He has. It's kind of added up over time. And whenever it snows, they talk about snow accumulation, like how much is going to come down over time. So over a certain period of time, he has collected 30 coins in dimes and quarters. Total value is $4.50. How many coins of each type does he have? So what variables are we even looking for? C, why C? Coins, but we have 2 types of coins. D and Q? Okay, so D stands for number of dimes. So I like to use the little number symbol, number of dimes. Hashtag dimes. Not really. And then what would the other one be? Q for quarters. Okay, so we know what we're looking for. Write your system of equation. We actually have two kind of hints over here. Quantity and value. How many has he accumulated? 30. So how would we write that equation? I find out how many dimes there are, how many quarters, what operation do I do with that? Mm-hmm. And then the next one is value. So we've got to attach values to each of the variables now. How much is a dime worth? 10 cents. So we're going to put 10 cents times dimes plus 25 cents times how many quarters you get. And when you do those operations, you should get a total of $4.50. So solve your system. How can we do the system? They're written kind of in that standard form. AX, BY equals C, even though we're using different variables. We have D, Q, and E equals a number, right? So the first equation written in the matrix, we look at our coefficients. So that'd be 1, 1, and 30. And then the second equation is 10 cents, 25 cents, and 4.50. So use your matrix now. Follow the steps that we've already done. Everyone should be doing this. Your solution should come out 1, 0, and then 0, 1 for the second one. And then we have 20 and 10 as our last column. So now we have to decide what that means. So what variable was first? D, and then Q was second. So it says D, if we convert it back to an equation, D equals 20. Because that's your first variable, first number in the last column. And then Q, we have 1Q equals 10. Step 4, write your answer in a sentence. Jason has 20 dimes and 10 quarters. Last step, make sure it makes sense. So 20 and 10, does that accumulate to be 30? If I do 10 cents times, let's see, how many? 20 plus 25 cents times 10 of those, I'm seeing if it equals $4.50. So if I have 20 dimes and 10 quarters, that does equal 4.5, which is $4.50. So it makes sense. glue this in, and your assignment is just 2 problems similar to this. We have to set up and solve a system.